GOP Congressman Mike Kelly serves on the House Ways and Means Committee. They're writing this legislation. Right on time to have you. Thanks for being here. What do you say in rebuttal to Senator Schumer?
I think Senator Schumer's comments are consistent. You know, with the health care bill, it was we have to pass it, and then we'll read it to find it with what's in it. And with our piece right now, it's, well, we got to trash it before we read it. So that's consistent, and it's something to be expected. But you know what? We've got a job to do. We're done. This is rug cutting time. It's time to get it done, and that's what we're working on right now. Plus, you know, Harris, this is generational. The implications, not only for us right here at home, but globally, are incredibly important. And that's what we're working on. And that's the area we're trying to get to. And that's our goal, is to make sure that every person looks at what we did in America and say, you know what, we're competitive again. We're keeping our jobs at home. We're allowing our industries to grow. And we're making sure that hard-working, middle-income and lower-income people have more take-home pay. They get to keep more of the money they earn instead of shipping it off to the federal government. So I think it's a wonderful day for America.
All right, so Kevin Brady was just explaining, and it makes a lot of sense. He says, look, you're going to reduce taxes across the board. I want to get back to the SALT, the state and local tax situation, because it's been such a sticking point. When you all went to pass the budget last week, you had 20 members who decided, and if you'd had two more, it wouldn't have passed. You had 20 members who decided they were going to cast a no vote in protest. It didn't jeopardize the budget passing, which set us up for majority vote on tax reform, but it did send a strong message about how important it is for people to be able to, particularly in high tax states like New Jersey, New York, some in California had pushed against this. So my question is, how did you get to property taxes? And it wasn't lost on many of us that 10% of your home value, Congressman, can sometimes be depleted if you can't write off your taxes, because that means you have to drop your price for people too. But I want to know how you got there and what happens to SALT.
Look, you know, I think we look at all of this is there's certain times, and it really depends on the member and where they're from, and you've got to look at what they're saying and say, you know what, I've got to understand what it's like for somebody in those states and those representatives, what they're going through. When we ever turn a deaf ear and a blind eye to what's going on with them, then we've really vacated what our responsibility is to each other. So listen, I know there's going to be accommodations made, and we're going to keep working on it. We've got a deadline, and there's nothing better than a deadline, as you know, Harris. If you don't have a deadline, it's just idle chatter. I want to get to the real discussion. I want to get to the real concerns that each member has and say, you know what, we're going to work with you. We're going to get there. But at the end of the day, we're going to be some people that are happy, and there's going to be some people that are really happy. That's our goal, and that's what we're fixed with, and that's something we just have to do.
Congressman Kelly, is there anything else out there that is a sticking point? I know you talked about maybe lowering the amount that you could put into your retirement 401k from $18,000 to $2,400. That went away. You found a way around that. Even the president talked about that. What else is looming out there that some of these lawmakers are coming to the table with?
Well, you know what, Harris, it depends who it is that you talk to, and it depends what the major issues are and the people they represent. And I think this process, and this is a process, as you know, we're going to roll out language, we're going to put text out there tomorrow. That's our goal. That's what we're shooting for. And then we're going to enter into the real debate as we move forward, because it still has to go through the Senate, and we have to get it to the president's desk by Thanksgiving. But I think having an open mind and then listening to other people's really critical points of what really affects them at home, not just as Republicans or Democrats, but what if just as Americans, we've got to take care of each other, and we've got to make sure that we're doing the right thing. We've got to become competitive globally. We've got to keep jobs here. We've got to get jobs back. But more importantly than anything else, we've got to see people get more take-home pay. That's our goal. And corporately, we have to make sure that we can compete with anybody in the world and win.
You know, you saw the president today meeting with corporate and small business owners at the leaders at the White House. And what you got from that was the focus from this president, particularly on the corporate tax. You're seeing a slide now, a discussion that you would phase in a corporate tax over a 5-year period, which is a very different sell and a very different impact on this economy. If you drop it from where it is now in the 30s to 20%, but you do that over 5 years. Why the shift?
Well, I think what we're looking for, again, is a transition into a new tax plan altogether. And how do you do that? You just can't come straight down and crash. You have to have a glide path to get there. But I would say this. Those are all concepts that are being put out there right now. This is part of the debate, and this is the way it's supposed to be in the people's house. This is what we're supposed to be. All 435 of us represent very different districts, in some cases very similar, but different. If we don't come to Washington with the best interest of those folks who are from our district, and I don't care how they vote. I'm talking about what's in their best interest. If we can't do that, then we're here for the wrong reasons. The president, we've got a wonderful leader at the top right now who understands business and understands where the United States is today because of taxes that are way too heavy and regulations that have actually choked us off. We're working on things to clear that climate up, to make sure that America is in the lead in every single thing that we do, and we are going to make America great again because we're going to make tax cuts, the greatest tax cuts that people have seen in over 3 decades.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable good news for every single hardworking American taxpayer.
Well, that's how they're being talked about. I wrote down what you said, a glide path for tax reform, because people have a lot of questions about that corporate tax being phased in. From the great state of Pennsylvania, good to see you. Thank you for joining us today, Representative Mike Kelly.
Thanks, Harris. Time to fish or cut bait.
Okay. I love fishing, and so I get that.